3. Well, there's still tickets.
I've got the most normal ones. I haven't got my shades in my car.
These
from work. These are my blue light blockers.
Oh, you remind me of Ash Carter in the sock.
Yeah, you look ridiculous.
You look like you could recite the periodic table.
You look like you subscribe to Obscure Sports Weekly.
Oh, look at these ones. Look at these ones.
What's the plan, Tesla? Welcome back. Cyberspace podcast. Empirical trading. Do you know what I mean? So they're like empirical trading. Welcome back.
Hello and welcome back to the Cyberspace podcast with us, Empirical Training. I'm your host, Josh, a cybersecurity product specialist, former security analyst and threat hunter. And I'm joined by my former colleagues and current friends, I guess current colleagues as well. But we met in a SOC some years ago now, a long time ago, and have since been on different careers in cybersecurity, different pathways, a lot of different experiences. And now we get to share that expertise in one forum, the Cyberspace podcast. So I'm joined with, to my left, I've got Vaughan. Vaughan is our automation specialist and security SOC leader.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are we?
Good to have Vaughan back. Vaughan has put a lot of effort into that background. YouTube for listeners, he was showing us all the RGB functions later on, and we might get a rave from him later on if we're lucky. Audio listeners, maybe we'll have an audible rave. AJ, you're next on my screen. So AJ is our incident response specialist working for, we can't say who, but big people with big money.
Yeah, we can't say who, but yeah, welcome back, boys. It's good to be back. Feels like we haven't done one of these together for a while, actually.
No, yeah. We've had a bit of guests, haven't we, recently? So we haven't had the need to. And finally, but last but not least, as they say, Robbie. Robbie is SOC leader, built a few SOCs himself, and now he's a security consultant. So people go hire him for a short period of time to try and pry that knowledge from his pretty little head, so they can execute and succeed their own security operations. How you doing, Rob?
I'm very well. For Josh's dad, if you're listening, sorry I haven't made the bed.
Yeah, we were discussing earlier that I get odd comments from my father who likes to listen to these, or I guess likes to watch these, and he won't say anything on the content, but I'll get a message say, "Tell Robbie to make his bed."
It's a sofa bed the cats sleep on. I've got my travel bag from the weekend. Yeah, I maybe should have brought it out of the shop. But...
Don't worry, most people listen to these rather than watch them, so we're all good.
Yeah, exactly.
And to introduce as well, the fifth member of the Cyberspace podcast, our community. So we've got a community on School, at School with a K. You can check it out if you just give us a little Google or find the links in the bottom of wherever you're listening to this now. These are our gold members. So these guys get a lot of attention and mentorship from us because we're trying to build them into the cybersecurity analysts that we are, and get them their first roles in cybersecurity. So thank you very much for joining us, everyone who's in the chat. I look forward to your interactions as always.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome.
So, yeah, hello to the chat.
Anything interesting happen in anyone's week since the last time we spoke?
I posted about something today, actually. Was it today or was it yesterday? About a request that we had. I can't talk too much about it, but it was basically a client was wanting to monitor their own internal employees, which was interesting. You know, for the majority of the time when you're working in a SOC, you're working with a client to keep the threats out. And we're looking at external threats, but this time it's focusing more on the internal sort of insider threat, leaking of information, exfiltrating data. And I was just talking about the process to the guys in the gold tier around how you would even go about, facilitating that type of request. You have to get data sent from individual endpoints in a business, which can be tricky. A lot of times you'll fall into that trap of the visibility issue, especially coming directly from activity that sits on an endpoint. So if you're going to monitor employee activity, you need to make sure that the majority of the information is being sent from their device. Then it's a case of building out those detection rules to try and catch that activity. And it is quite tricky because, you know, you can flag certain events like screenshots within a certain threshold, but you can't actually see what was in the contents of those screenshots. You can just see screenshots were taken at this time, and then you can maybe see where they went, like if a flash drive was plugged in and then, you know, some data was uploaded to that flash drive.
You might be able to pull the screenshots off the endpoint if you've got the ability to pull files. You can look at the file path of where usually they go to the desktop. So if they're still on there and they haven't deleted them, then you can grab them. I've done that a few times, grab them and check the content. Of all the investigations, we don't actually investigate all employees. It's only if there's a need, and that's probably something we should say.
This is
of course.
This is a really interesting one as well, because we recently had a customer onboarded to our SOC that have a requirement for setting up ingestion into Microsoft Sentinel for one of these employee monitoring tools. And yeah, I always feel a bit weird about it. And Josh, this is probably a question for you. Where does the line sit in terms of what you're monitoring for your employees and what is a breach of, you know, their rights?
Yeah, and I think I'm thinking of a real high-profile story with a big bank. If you Google your UK bank caught spying on employees, you'll see what I'm talking about. I can pull it up, but
that was the one I used to work for, is it?
It is the one you used to work for, and that's why I'm not saying their name.
Is it?
They'll be able to find that on LinkedIn. It's just my current employer they can't know about.
Okay,
Just ones are on LinkedIn.
Say it then. Say it proud.
It is Barclays Bank.
Yeah. So yeah, they got done for basically using spyware on their employees, and I believe that you know, as always with these reporting things, you wonder how much of the actual information you've got, but they certainly the use cases they were using it for to kind of snoop for productivity. That definitely seems to be some sort of line. I think it's more of a moral line than a legal line. I think technically you can, if it's the employee, so the company own the laptop, they can do whatever they want to it to monitor. But ethically, I don't think it's very good. And I think, you know, the fact that you make a news story about it kind of shows that. But if we could just go back a second, because you guys started talking about some of the detections there, and the first question I'll ask is, what is the use case, this insider threat? Let's kind of do some level setting for people who might not know why they want to monitor these things. Because Rob, you started giving some use cases about screenshots. That's not very threatening, is it?
Not really, but it is data. It's important information that sits on a company database.
So what's the use case? What are we trying to, like, when we talk about trying detections for insider threats? Why does the company want to monitor this, basically?
Is it trying to protect their IP, I imagine?
Yeah, protect their IP, protect their customer database, you know, their lead generation. There's a lot of important information. It could be financial records. Yeah,
so is it looking
a whole
for
host of things?
Well, what type of people could it be? Disgruntled employee you mentioned. So I know one of the use cases is we're about to have a big RIF, reduction in force, nice way of saying mass firings. I don't want people running off and sneaky taking their clients with them or taking some sort of competitive data that they can use against me. The other one is just, this person's terrible at their job and I'm worried about them, and I don't want them being an idiot, and we're kind of going through tribunals or whatever. Then that's one other use case. And there's the other one. People get paid on the internet, like dark web. Hey, times are tough. Someone promises you a Bitcoin in exchange for some inside information. You know, when I think of insider threat, I definitely think more of that side of things. Like, what if you pay somebody to click on a phishing link and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know what was happening." But yeah, what's your understanding of insider threat, or maybe more relevant to this conversation? What was the customer that you asked you to set this up? What were they trying to solve for?
I feel as if that type of scenario is more reserved for the movies, you know, some people from the dark web crawling out of their deep dark hole and offering some crypto for somebody to leak some information. But I guess it does happen. But I think the majority of the time people are just more worried about, you know, when they're laying off people, when they're leaving, that they're just going to take some important information with them. And it's funny, actually, at the start of the year, I was with one of my friends, and he's never going to listen to the pod. I'm not going to name him anyway, but he was being let go of his business, and he actually did copy some of his customers onto a a USB, I think it was, and took it with him. And he was panicking, asking me, "Oh, am I going to get done? Am I going to get in trouble?"
Yeah.
And my response was, "I don't know. I don't know what the level of monitoring exists in your business. I don't know if you have any form of security services available. If you do, yeah, you might be fucked. Or if they're not monitoring for it and there's a visibility issue, then you might be okay." And yeah, he was just sitting tight, and I think the dust settled and he was all good. He got the green light. But yeah, it does happen. A lot of people will do that. A lot of people, especially salespeople, because that's that's their whole, livelihood, is the contacts and the clientele they've built up. And some people will work for recruitment firms, and then they'll think, "Oh, I can do this. I can go off and do this on my own," and just take the company's or their personal clients that they've worked so hard to maintain those relationships with them, and then start their own thing. So people want to protect that.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy those lists, those client lists, for lots and lots of money. There are companies who sell those, brokers. I used to know a guy who worked for one, and sneaky boy put my contact details on there, and I know it was him because after we had that conversation, all of a sudden my things ramped up. People trying to contact me to sell me something. But I used to work in technical sales, and sellers can be slimy. There was one guy who left, and he was brilliant, and I really got on well with him. But when he left, there was some questionable behavior where he, and I don't know if he took anything. I'm not claiming he took any of his client list, but he did contact the sellers who were still there, who he passed over his leads to, and he kind of kept in contact and knew that they closed. So I don't know if he still was talking to somebody at that company. And when they closed, he said, "Okay, now message the seller and say, you owe me this percentage of that commission," or whatever. And they're like, fuck off. Like they used to be really good friends with him, but they don't like him so much anymore because he tried to do that.
Why is that? Because he warmed up the sale in his early stages, was it?
And you get you get a big percentage of some of these deals, contracts are tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of monthly recurring revenue, and you tend to get a big chunk of that first month. So he was, I've done half the job. You've just you've taken the baton for the last bit and run over the finish line. You owe me this amount of money. No, legally they owe him absolutely nothing. Those leads are the companies, but that was quite an interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, was it his choice to leave, or did he get forced out? I guess
his choice.
I mean, surely he doesn't have any rights to ask for money in that case.
No, I think he just loved it too much. But that's what made him such a good seller. But the other insider threats, AJ, did you see anything about these North Korea insider threats? Because that's, you said it's about the movies, Rob. I've seen some articles that this shit does happen.
It definitely does happen. So the North Korea stuff, I can't speak too much on. I can't speak too much on it, but some clients that I worked with in the finance industry, the North Korean hackers were forging identifications and applying for these financial institutions, joining these projects, and then siphoning off a lot of the money and a lot of the funds because they were impersonating engineers. So they were impersonating engineers that were well-known engineers. They were impersonating them, joining the company, introducing malicious code, and then they were siphoning a lot of money back off to North Korea.
How are they getting through interview stages? Does anyone know? Or were they not having interviews?
Well, that's the thing, because when I was looking through Twitter, they were going through interviews, but they were forging the documents, but obviously they were North Korean, so they're North Korean photo, but then their name was Jim Smith. So they were like, well, how did that not flag up as somebody who was, because they were clearly...
Come on, we live in a day where that definitely could exist. And
a well-known engineer, Jim Smith.
Yeah, it would be easy to pose as a South Korean. You think that would make more sense for North Koreans?
Well, I don't know. It was interesting though, because of course they could be called Jim Smith, but then they know that the engineer is not from North Korea. So how all of a sudden is he now Asian? But then because these engineers are, because the engineers are well known. That's the reason that people were hiring them, because they knew their name, and their name was associated to...
I see what you're saying.
They were well-respected engineers in the industry.
They knew who they were. They were not... Yeah, they knew who they were.
I thought we were going to have a conversation offline. But I misunderstood you. What you were saying is that they were pretending to be well-recognized and known engineers.
Yeah.
And then someone should have realized, hey, you're not the guy who I see on YouTube or Twitter.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, maybe surely that's the fault of the company in some ways. Like if you're hiring, I don't know, John Hammond, for example, and then John Hammond doesn't turn up on the day just to pull a well-known.
You get the Temu version of John Hammond.
Yeah, exactly. Like, have you guys seen the ones where like when a football team plays bad, they get like the Temu version of the football players? It's the same sort of thing. Like,
Yeah, there's obviously a failure in a lot of the background checks. That there was probably a lot of these projects that wanted these engineers with the skills that they had and didn't do the checks that they were supposed to do.
And it looks like 30 firms. I'm looking at the research was shared by CrowdStrike, their adversary tracking. They kind of found this campaign. No, we've all forgiven them, right? There's just an innocent mistake.
I'm happy.
There's the man who works in automation. You've got stronger opinions than me on that. But yeah, so there's 100 companies that have been targeted by them. They like to give them weird names. They've called it Famous Colima. I could have butchered that. But yeah, 30 different companies hired them. And I do wonder, like, maybe, if this is a state-sponsored organization, you've got a lot of North Koreans who could be focused on this. So maybe there's like 10 devs who are doing the work of one person to make it seem like they were, that level of the top engineer to kind of get these jobs going above and beyond, because for them it's worthwhile getting in there, being able to install some backdoors. Flipping heck, imagine if you're a top level engineer in a company, no one's going to bat an eyelid at all the little backdoors you might leave yourself in. And to go back to the example of stealing the data, you USB drive and kind of screenshots, they're probably going to be a bit beyond that. You're not going to catch them doing that. You're going to catch somebody SSHing in the middle of the night to a route that you never knew existed, and then using a random protocol, maybe like DNS, to exfiltrate data really, really slowly. I feel like this would be a bit more sophisticated than the kind of use cases that you were looking to initially address, Rob. Yeah,
well, I guess people could easily be doing coding arbitrage now. They could be running these they probably struggle in the interview stage, but if they manage to land a job and then somebody says, right, here's your project, then you could outsource that to the Fiverr or Upwork, find a dev guy, get him to do the work. As long as you're making more money than he charges you to do the work, then you quid's in. But
yeah,
that's how a lot of normal businesses operate anyway.
I've heard stories of people who don't quit their jobs, or they mean to quit and they end up doing both of them, because they can either do both of them half-assed, or they can get someone from Fiverr. I think somebody was outsourcing all of their jobs via Fiverr or whatever. The modern, I mean, the complications of having a remote workforce are huge when it comes to security, right? Especially got your devs and everything. You want to crack a good dev, they're not going to want to come in the office. When we used to work in the office, guys, didn't we used to have our engineers used to wear their dressing gowns and stuff? They are not office people.
Yeah, they used to wear some questionable clobber, literally slippers and house coats.
And microwave mackerel, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that stink out of the kitchen, didn't it?
Yeah.
But nice. I mean, let's wrap this bit up, and I want to, Rob, you give us an example of an insider threat that you can implement via a SIM, because I think that's the use case. I know there are some dedicated platforms that do insider threat. They're focused just on that, and let's not talk about those. But if you were an IT security engineer or even an IT admin, you wanted to kind of write some correlations, where could you start? And let's go around the room, see if we can all get one.
Yeah, I mean, mass downloading data is a bit of a gimme, isn't it? So, some cloud storage, downloading something from SharePoint en masse is something that you could create as a detection rule. Sometimes that even comes out of the box on some solutions.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, downloading stuff. I don't even download stuff off SharePoint anymore. it's all in the cloud, and you just access it very rarely. So if you create a rule with see this log download as an action and threshold 5 within 3 minutes, I'm not sure if that's a good threshold, but that's the type of thing we're talking about, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
AJ, Mr. Bones, you got any ideas, any examples?
Well, yeah, the way that we do it is we've got a Splunk dashboard, and it baselines all of the general activity of the employees, and then, like Robbie's example, if they download a certain amount of documents, if they share documents to external email addresses that are not within the company, anything like that is kind of out of the ordinary is what we detect on. But there's a machine learning on common common websites that they connect to. If they're connecting to like suspicious sites and things like that. It's mostly baselining because it's quite hard with insider threat because the activity looks normal, right?
Mm-hmm. So that anomaly detection type of place, I think that is the only real way to do it. Probably the easiest way to do it as well, unless you know somebody's bad. But have you to investigate any of those? Any of you? So hold off, Josh. Vaughan, what's your detection?
In terms of actual company ones, we're not going to talk about any, but the way I kind of envision insider threat is almost like like we spoke about earlier, a user kind of pretending to fall for, executing a file or click on a phishing link. So kind of the way I envision it is just kind of in line with the typical MITRE ATT&CK techniques for detections, things like clicking on a phishing link or downloading and running an executable in like PowerShell if they have the admin privileges to be able to run that sort of thing, or exactly like Rob said, downloading a bunch of files from SharePoint, for example. So yeah, I guess my examples kind of come in line with the typical sort of MITRE ATT&CK techniques you'd expect from legitimate attack.
Nice. I like that. That's probably more how I like to think of insider threat, because I would. I mean, your company is nicer than the one I've worked for, where someone's asked us to do that and we've said no. We focus on security use cases. This is kind of outside of that. If you want to do it, have at it, write some custom correlations, but it requires too much context for us to be able to build them out. But that's why when I think of insider threat, I'm thinking more like you've on the, once somebody's gained entry to a network, whether that is through legitimate credentials, whether that's through a web exploit or brute force attack, whatever, they look like an insider threat because they start to do those kind of, like you're saying, the moving laterally, privilege escalation, etc. That's how I think of it more and more.
Common interview question as well for people listening. We've asked that question a few times in an interview setting to people. Say, if you had access to a cloud resource, how would you exfiltrate data? Could be AWS, could be Microsoft Azure. And then if you had access to like an on-premise device, how would you exfiltrate data that way? So always good to have some scenarios prepped for that question.
Nice. Yeah. Show you're working as well. If you don't know, think about it out loud and kind of go through the steps, because you probably get there yourself, but also they'll see how your mind works. That's what they care about more than you coming prepared with 100 detections you've revised.
And people that really overthink this question. I don't know if you recall some of the interviews that you've done with me, Vaughan, but we'll ask this question to somebody and they will... This is the time where they freeze up and they sort of start choking. They're fine on all the other questions, but when this is to them, it could be so complex, the steps. But like if you've got access to a physical device on-prem in literally somebody's office, they've got up for a wee, the computer's unlocked, you need to take some data off. How are you going to do that? Like, it literally could be as simple as like pulling up your phone, take a picture. Pull up a resource. Pull up a resource, take a picture of what you've just seen, or stick a USB in and download some files quickly.
That can't possibly be hacks. Hacks are, you require zeros and ones firing down a screen, right?
Type in.
Morse code
into the mainframe.
Just to add to that as well, and what Robbie mentioned about interviewees making the answer way more complex than it needs to be. One of the ones Robbie said about how we do exfiltrate data from a cloud environment, or if you have access to Microsoft Office or something. We've had some answers to that, Rob, people saying like, oh yeah, I'll do a spear phishing campaign, I'll install a backdoor and all this sort of stuff. Like, yeah, they are legitimate answers, but could you do that? They kind of freeze a little bit, like if you put them on the spot. But yeah, it's as simple as, I'll create an external sharing link for a resource. Like, we're trying to think in like real, ground level terms. Yeah, exactly. We're not looking for you to become a nation state actor. Like,
real simple stuff. We set the scene. We're saying you've fished for some credentials. You've inputted those credentials into, say, Office 365. You're now logged into that account. What would you do? Utilize the apps that exist within 365. And like Vaughan said, it could be sharing a link, like an anonymous link that anybody can access. Or you can set up a forwarding rule, or you could literally just add an attachment to an email it to your personal email, and then just delete the email afterwards. Yeah, there's a trail, but that's not part of the question. We're not saying like make sure that it goes undetected or that you're covering your tracks.
Yeah.
Hey, this is different, but how about, can we do some role play? Can I be an interview candidate? And we'll see how well I answer the questions. I'll try 2 different ways. Unless AJ, you want to come in as the opposite.
We
of
want to answer
whatever I
these
do.
questions. Go for it.
Yeah.
I probably would choke up, to be fair.
I'm not sure actually.
I mean, I've interviewed some people who
I
talk
bring my
like
mum.
ChatGPT. They do all the 1 point is this, 2 point is this. There's loads of different styles. But yeah, ask me the question about data exfiltration.
Okay, Mr. Davis, you've just walked
Yes.
into an office and Glenda from
Everyone's staring
finance
at
has
you.
just stepped away from her computer. She's desperate for a wee. She hasn't been since her lunch. She goes off to the toilet. She typically takes quite a while, Glenda does, but you've now got access to her machine. You're logged in. She's got quite a lot of privileges. What information would you take, and how would you go about doing that?
Okay. Well, just in case it's an air-capped environment, I would put some malware on there to make her hard drive move at different frequencies, and I can put a microphone in the underneath the desk that would listen to the different frequencies, and there'll either be a 0 or 1, and I can slowly leak out from the air-gapped environment the stuff from on a computer.
Honestly, that's not far from some of the answers we would have on an interview. And like we have to reiterate question, like, okay, let's take a step back. Think about the MITRE ATT&CK framework, for example. Let's slow it down. Let's take your time. Think about them in step-by-step approach. What's one thing you could do? Because yeah, like exactly like you're saying, Josh, I know you're taking the mick, but it's genuinely like some of the answers we have. People think they need to become this like massive nation state Stuxnet type threat actor that need to pull off all these like picture perfect 0 day. Oh, I'll find a 0 day on their machine. Like, okay, what is the 0 day? I don't know.
We want the non-Hollywood answer. That's all we want.
Yeah, like, you know, like working as I think it's important. You're working as an analyst. You are working with literal attack techniques. Name me one. That's all we're looking for. Name me an attack technique. That's what we're trying to pick out of your interview answer. We're looking for you to show your understanding of literal attacker techniques.
And the more common, the better, because you want to start when you're doing any security program with the most common threats to your organization, because they're the ones you're going to see the most. If you kind of start with the most glamorous, like the example I gave, that is real, by the way, guys. You can make your hard drive move at different frequencies, which then a microphone can pick up and exfiltrate something. But I think that's probably done by one security researcher. No one's actually ever had the opportunity or the scenario where they actually got to do it.
Yeah, you're pressed for time as well. You want to take the path of least resistance because, you know, like Glenda, she takes about 3-4 minutes to have a wee, see, but she will be back. And if you're still at her desk, she doesn't like anybody sitting at her desk, right? So you need to be gone from there by the time she gets back.
She's got her don't talk to me until I've had my coffee mug.
100%.
That's the thing. Attackers are actually doing the more simple stuff as well. Like that's what companies need to focus on. And Vaughan, it's a good point in terms of looking at the techniques, because that is what companies need to focus on, the basics. And a lot of companies are always. I remember where we all worked, everybody was like, "Oh, how are we going to detect these 0 days?" And it's like, well, we're not really detecting basics yet. Why would we try and detect 0 days?
Catch what happens after the 0 day, right? You know, you might get in a novel way that nobody knows about, but then you're not going to have a full attack sequence of 0 day exploits unless this is the most important thing in the absolute world and you are a government official who stored these up over 10, 20 years. In which case, you're probably going to not detect it.
Hats off, Joe. Good luck.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about that quite a lot. And I think it's probably the biggest realization I had early on was that these hacks are simple a lot of the time. They aren't the most complicated thing. And, you know, you want to focus building your knowledge and testing yourself. I look at the complicated bits, but don't neglect the basic stuff. Cloud, you talked about cloud. How would you take stuff from cloud? Right? Just leaving an open S3 bucket is still the most common mistake that people make, or leaving keys out there. So yeah, it's the simple stuff, guys. That's what you need to protect first.
And like those sorts of, sorry, Josh, and those sorts of things like exposed cloud S3 bucket, like as far as I'm aware, that's not even an exploit. That's just a misconfiguration. So it's almost like protect yourself first and then worry about potential exploits later.
I think because even like credential access, that's like the number one way that hackers are getting in. So simple stuff like 2FA, that's not an exploit. It's just reusing passwords. It's just phishing. The basic ways that people get in, and they're not always that fancy. But a lot of companies don't
neglect your basics, guys. Don't neglect your basics. Cyberspace.
podcast. Empirical training.
So, hey, Rob, one of the first lessons you taught me. What do we do to people who don't lock their computers and walk away?
Or they get either hopped or rickrolled,
Rickrolled.
or
Nicolas
some,
Cage.
some type of yeah, or encaged. There's
Yeah,
a
the Nick
there's
Cage
a,
browser
there's a
extension was a
myriad,
common one for
yeah,
me.
different Chrome pranks that you can do on people.
You F them up. That's the answer.
Kim
Yeah,
Jong Un,
you
I think, was
fucked
one as
them
well.
up. There was one, I think it was literally called like prank extension, and then it would like turn your browser upside down, or it would like flicker, or can't remember what it was, but yeah, there's one anyway. I think you can literally type in
Well,
prank
me how to do it.
Chrome extension.
we shouldn't encourage extensions and programs, but I used to download one I put on my friend's personal computer. It's called megaman.exe, and every time you started up a program, it did like the Mega Man animation. It like took like 10 seconds.
It's just a
Of course,
prank.
you know,
The
that could
best
well be
prank.
malware.
The best prank is plugging in a wireless mouse into someone else's computer as well,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and then like moving
back.
their mouse as they're doing it. We did it. We did that loads of times. And just people just freak out because they don't know what's happening. Especially if you're new as well, and then you get that done to you, and you don't want to rock the boat. You're kind of trying to just keep your head down, and your mouse is going fucking crazy. And it's funny. It's funny watching people's reactions. They like freak out a bit.
Yeah.
And-
A good one and done one, which you can't really do more than once, is like setting up a desktop extension to the shutdown button and then sticking like a browser
I did
icon
that.
on it.
I did
Like-
that in uni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll click on the browser icon and shut the computer down, but then obviously you can't get them a second time. So they're like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And an easy quick one for me. If you've got a small window of opportunity, Control Alt and down, that turns your screen upside down. That's a great one you can do in a second.
Oh, I've seen that, and then watching them trying to revert it back is one of the funniest things ever.
We used
I
to
think
do
I
it in school library all the time.
I think that's what I got done with. That was one that really messed me up.
messed me
And I
up.
grew- yeah.
That's why you're so upside down now, is it?
Yeah. I've adjusted
Is it
now.
is it not just Control Alt up to fix it or what?
Yes, it is. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a shortcut. Come on. But I think, Rob, when you said about you're a new person, you care a lot, I think that was me. And I was just like, oh, I've messed up my computer. Oh, what's happening? You know, flustered.
Yeah, you got to make it fun though.
Podcast. Empirical training.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me today, and the community. Thank you very much for being a part of this. So I think we've got so much we talked about today that we're gonna have to wrap it up. AJ, thank you very much for your time and your insights. Appreciate you sharing some of those anonymized information about some sensitive stuff that's happened in the real world, but we love that. You're on the front line, and we love hearing those stories.
Yeah, no, I've got to be very careful with not disclosing any information, as we all do in cybersecurity. But it's still good to share some of these stories so you can learn from it. But as long as it's anonymous, then yeah, it should be fine.
Yeah. Robbie, thank you very much for you bringing up that topic. Actually, I didn't realize we were going to go into that for so long, but that insider threat topic really took some good turn and some practical advice. So thank you very much for joining us today for that.
Yeah, no, that was good. It was very insightful, and again, we've got to be really careful in the way that we present this type of information. But I think we did a good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully the community seemed to find something valuable. Hopefully you listeners have got some value there too, even if it's just hypothetical. So you're curious about, because this is the real world of cybersecurity, and that's what happens on a daily basis. Is these are the requests we're dealing with. These are the scenarios we're trying to find. And on that note, Vaughan, thank you for bringing us back down to reality when it comes to job interviews, shooting down the kind of pie in the sky answers, and just reminding us that, hey, end of the day, hacks can be quite simple, and that's what you got to watch out for.
Anytime. And thank you, Josh, for hosting this brilliant podcast once again.
Oh, brilliant! You heard it here first. There's a review. Slap that on the book cover when this becomes a best-selling book in a few years. Memoirs of the Empirical Trainers.
Who's having their first book then?
I'll take a headshot for the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, get your reviews in as well wherever you can do that. Spotify,
Appreciate
Apple
that. Yeah.
Podcasts.
Appreciate all the interaction you guys give us on this podcast. And thank you very much, everyone, for listening as well. Probably thank you the most. If you want to hear more of us, we've been doing this for 39. This is our 40th episode, I believe. Everyone, GG's.
Nice.
Well done. What about if you want to sponsor us, Josh? And you're a
Well, if
tech
you want to
company?
sponsor us, then maybe we can have a conversation, because we won't take any old idiot. We're not going to advertise any VPNs, because, to be quite honest, we don't think you need a VPN unless you want to watch Netflix in another country. But if you've got a company, a use case that is security related or maybe educational related, because that is our audience, get in touch. We get a few listeners here, and we'd love to talk about things that can help our listeners. So if that's you, get in touch with us. You can find us. What is it? Is it the team at empiricaltraining.co.uk? Best one to find us at. Send through that now. And if you want more of us beyond just the podcast, join that school community. If you haven't already, it's school with a K/cybersec, or you can type in school with a K and empirical training. You'll find it. There's a free community there. We got 3,000, 4,000 members and climbing. It's a great place to talk cyber, even if you've got zero experience, or if you're one of the guys I was talking to last week was on a bug bounty and he was asking me for some help of how to bypass WAFs. These are the type of interesting conversations that we get to have. And you can be a fly on the wall, or you can be a super active member. And of course, if you want to get into cybersecurity, we've got a little summon for that as well. So join the free community, have a conversation with us if you want us to mentor you and get you in, because we are hoping to kind of help solve the cyber skills shortage and give people the same type of careers that we've had and we're still having, right? Because that's what keeps us relevant. That we're still on this security journey, and who knows where we'll end up in a few years or even short months. So that's the carpet rolled out for everybody. Thank you very much again for listeners. Thank you for our community for attending today. And Robbie, you want to finish this off?
Yes. That's a wrap.
Cyberspace.
Empirical training. You guys are cyber. You know what I mean? So like, empirical training.